Konbanlux. 私は、Akira Lux です。Oops, I didn't mean to pause. I just mean to Woo! It's on my one of my streams. It's not just a little bit scuffed. But welcome. Welcome. I've been debating and planning this for a while now. I'm just really bad at those things. But happy Halloween, all. We are gathered here today in my bedroom. I made by a very lovely paint bucket tool, one of my closest friends, and oh my god. Can I just I'm gonna magically make myself invisible here for a second. I'm still here, don't worry, but just the details on everything in this room is so good. Basically just helped organize it. Well, organize is used to be dirtier. Let's leave it at that. However, that is not what we're here for today. It looks great, thank you. I I wanted this done especially for today, because this will be the first time where, ooh, stories. But yes, we are here to do some creepypasta readings. Yeah. I have some old ones that I've probably literally everyone and their dog knows. And I have some other ones that I think were just really interesting when I was just doing general research. I'm incredibly nervous. I was so confident doing this, just like, yeah, this will be good. And now I'm here like, pain. We're here now. So I will do it. So, let's get started. To the freaky fettuccine? Huh? I am so confused right now. The what and the who what? Is a type of pasta. It is? I thought it was a weird combination of like something and zucchini. I rarely it's spaghetti. Anyway, let's get started. Never heard of fettuccine Alfredo? No. Was the first of the creepypastas. One I think everyone's heard of at least once. Gateway of the Mind. In 1983, a team of deeply pious scientists conducted a radical experiment in an undisclosed facility. The scientists had theorized that a human without access to any senses or ways to perceive stimuli would be able to perceive the presence of God. They believed that the five senses clouded our awareness of eternity, and without them, a human could actually establish contact with God by thought. An elderly man who claimed to have nothing left to live for was the only test subject to volunteer. To purge him of all his senses, the scientists performed a complex operation in which every sensory nerve connection to the brain was surgically severed. Although the test subject retained full muscular function, he could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. With no possible way to communicate with or even sense the outside world, he was alone with his thoughts. Scientists monitored him as he spoke aloud about his state of mind in jumbled, slurred sentences that he couldn't even hear. After 4 days, the man claimed to be hushed, unintelligible voices in his head. Assuming it was an onset of psychosis, the scientists paid little attention to the man's concerns. 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear his dead wife speaking with him, and even more, he could communicate back. The scientists were intrigued, but were not convinced until the subject started naming dead relatives of the scientists. He repeated personal information to the scientists that only their dead spouses and parents would have known. At this point, a sizable portion of scientists left the study. After a week of conversing with the deceased through his thoughts, the subject became distressed, saying the voices were overwhelming. In every waking moment, his consciousness was bombarded by hundreds of voices that refused to leave him alone. He frequently threw himself against the wall, trying to elicit a pain response. He begged the scientists for sedatives so he could escape the voices by sleeping. The tactic worked for 3 days until he started having severe night terrors. The subject repeatedly said that he could see and hear the deceased in his dreams. Only a day later, the subject began to scream and claw his non-functional eyes, hoping to sense something in the physical world. The hysterical subject now said the voices of the dead were deafening and hostile, speaking of hell and the end of the world. At one point he yelled, "No heaven, no forgiveness," for 5 hours straight. He continually begged to be killed, but the scientists were convinced that he was close to establishing contact with God. After another day, the subject could no longer form coherent sentences. Seemingly mad, he started to bite off chunks of flesh from his arm. The scientist rushed into the test chamber and restrained him to a table so he could not kill himself. After a few hours of being tied down, the subject halted his struggling and screaming. He stared blankly at the ceiling as teardrops silently streaked across his face. For 2 weeks, the subject had to be manually rehydrated due to the constant crying. Eventually, he turned his head and, despite his blindness, made focused eye contact with scientists for the first time in the study. He whispered, "I have spoken with God, and he has abandoned us." And his vital signs stopped. There was no apparent cause of death. Yeah, that's the way to kick it off. It's been a while since I read that one. Holy shit. How would he have been able to have any sense of where his body was in relation to itself with no senses? I mean, how would he have been able to have any sense? I think he didn't. I think he just sort of rammed into random things because I'm sure he like knew the type of rumor. How would he know where he's biting his arm? I mean, it's probably just it's kind of funny to think about now. He probably like just kept throwing his arm around and just randomly biting. And you know, there's also the super big supernatural factor of it's the fucking creepypasta. Also, I was already shaking, and that was meant to be the starter. We're in for the long haul. How will we tell when he bit his arm? Probably didn't. Which I guess in some cases like made him look more mad. But AO. Like it probably wasn't like consistent biting, but it was probably just like, you know, a chunk of flesh here, a chunk of flesh there, you know. Random testings. And I see the plot holes. It's a creepypasta made in like when was this made? It was around the time creepypastas first became a thing. Have you ever read Gateway of the Mind? Like, wait. I read a lot of creepypasta. No. Oh! Oh, this is gonna be a very interesting stream. But yeah, no, I love creepypastas. Oh, we're gonna be here. You know they hate horror? That's true. I love the I have to pick the plot holes to not be terrified. In other words, you're inhaling a high amount of copium. Is that what you're saying? Actually, I like that music. Let's keep playing it. I should lower it down just a little bit. Absolutely. I didn't expect copium this stream, but I guess we can cross that off the list. The copium helps to numb the fear. That's a new one. Honestly, that's a new one. Wait. If that's the case, what if I told you the next one is in relation to this creepypasta? I'll put that in correct quotes. Zeph? You know a certain Vocaloid song, right? Cause this one, yep, you guessed it. The next one is Kagome Kagome, or Circle You, which I will not sing because I cannot sing to save my life. Gateway of the Mind is a well-known creepypasta. A bunch of mad scientists attempting some unbelievably literal interpretation of a figure of speech. This experiment was performed promptly after World War II. World War II ended, and seemed to fit in with the long line of strange experiments performed during and or post-war. But I actually don't know if I could say that word. Oh well. Performed by the Nazis. Part 1. War Experiments. The Nazi reign was famous for its backdoor scientists and occult researchers. Special expeditionary divisions of the Reich were often sent out in search of artifacts or locations of occult and religious significance. Meanwhile in Germany, bunkers were assembled, and mansions and castles were fitted with labyrinths and dungeons which were filled with strange experiments and research notes. Whenever the Allies found these places, they were often gutted, burned, or otherwise destroyed and abandoned. Whenever a lab was found intact, the research was often incoherent or missing, or later destroyed by the Allies to prevent the Nazis from recovering any hidden data. A lot of the experiments were kept under the radar, until recently. Veterans who served as guards to the labs and ritual zones have explained what they have seen, where folders and books have been uncovered in boxes and crates belonging to the scientists. A fair few of these contain a common research goal: giving the man the power of God. Exactly the true power is often up to debate, but it appears this is often described in Nazi research as immortality, unable to die, invincibility, or other factors surrounding losing the capacity to die in some way or another. The larger part of this research was actually legitimately based, certain doses of chemical compounds to aid blood flow in aging people. First concepts that are now used in today's transplant surgery, grafting, ointments that renewed skin, antibodies to various diseases, and fitness/dieting research. However, one of the crates discovered in Hamburg in 1999 went way off this research style. This stuff crossbred the occult experiments and immortality research. Mind is a disease. The introductory folders and proofs of concept of the research began with the principle that the brain controls the body completely and wholly, and as the body slowly degrades around it, it continues to function. Further statements say that the research is left to degrade is because the human brain is set on a biological timer. Such is why butterflies can only live a day, yet other insects can often last longer. The brain tells us to die. It is proposed that, as the brain grows, it begins to make connections, resulting in the human becoming more mature and having an advancing brain. At the age of 35 to 50, however, these connections slowly break down, resulting in forgetfulness, dementia, and other mental diseases reserved for the elderly. Their proposal. The scientists propose that the brain has a universal kill switch that activates as soon as the brain has fully developed. In all normal humans, this kill switch will initiate a shutdown sequence in bodily functions, which occurs over several decades. As soon as the body is fully shut down, the brain will be forced to die through lack of oxygenated blood. It is said that Werner syndrome, a disease where a person ages rapidly, is the result of the kill switch function activating far too early. The Nazis proposed that they could remove the kill switch and give the human mind immortality, and from that, complete immortality. Needless to say, brain surgery was incredibly difficult during those times, but it was possible. In the stacks of folders there were many different diagrams and past research in the brain, psychology, the human mind, and the like. Whew. The location. The experiments were initially proposed to Nazi executives in 1940, and permission was granted to perform the experiments in 1942, under one condition. The experiments must be conducted outside of Germany. The German populace must not see this experiment in any way, shape, or form. It was no surprise to the scientists that the executives were paranoid about public relations, but the idea of performing the research outside of the fatherland was foreign in and of itself. Most experiments were performed in bunkers or basements. Regardless, the scientists complied and were able to organize a setup with their ally, Japan, in late 1942. The research had begun. Here's where it gets strange. The research team had taken over a Japanese orphanage. The orphanage was in the hills, supposedly somewhere in Shimane, an area nearby Hiroshima. Carrying out the experiments. The scientists deduced that if they tried to take the usual test subjects, old or deceased people with nothing left to live for, similarly in a fashion to Gateway of the Mind, they would be playing with a variable of disease, or more importantly, they would be experimenting on a brain that has already had an activated kill switch, rendering it useless in the context of finding the solution. As a result, the Nazi scientists demanded that children, namely the orphans in the orphanage, which they deemed to, again, have nothing left to live for, would become the test subjects. Their young brains eliminated any cause of concern for an already activated kill switch. To begin the experiments, the children went through numerous immunizations and intense psychological testing to ensure that they would prevent any defects and keep a general benchmark for their subjects. Next, they began with the older staff of the orphanage, for under anesthetic, the surgeons opened up their skulls to find a good cross-section of an adult brain, and began to find key differences between it and a child's brain. After gaining a model of both a child brain and an adult brain, the scientists deduced that the universal kill switch wasn't located in the brain, but in the cerebellum, located in the rear. The cerebellum commands all subconscious activity in the brain, which is understandable, since it isn't a conscious action to set off the kill switch. Systematically, they took the tallest child in the orphanage and began to open her up. They were about to begin their first kill switchectomy. They had managed to open up the cerebellum and remove the part presumed to be the kill switch. However, upon closing the subject up, they found that she had expired. They assumed that the incisions in the brain had been too brash and required far more precision. The body was dumped in a forest out behind the orphanage. Success, presumably. After imports of different tools and different techniques developed, the scientists were finally able to remove the kill switch and successfully revive the patients. In May 1943, they had taken one of the youngest girls in the orphanage, removed the kill switch. The only function she lost was the ability to sweat. After their assumed success, and the scientists had celebrated, after which everyone went to sleep, the next morning, the girl did not wake up, and was revealed to be comatose. After a while, she was revived successfully, and the kill switchectomies continued. Continuation. The initial success gave the doctors a new state of mind, one of refreshment. They were able to continue their experiments with the ease of mind. The theory was proven well, so they assumed. Before the doctors continued their removal research, they commissioned several doctors in from Moscow, who were trained in the practice of bodily revival. Technically zombification, however, it relies on the principles of using electric shocks and artificial hearts to power the body back up. Kill switchectomy is such a dumb name for it. It is! The AO, the Vocaloid song is just playing in my head run free right now. Oh, I'm creeped out. They stated the reason for this was that the original subject always became comatose or clinically dead whenever she went to sleep, and then revived herself in the morning. She had no signs of this behavior before the experiment, and despite the fact that she revived, the doctors did not want to risk a success turning into a failure. The Russian scientists were put to the task of bringing her back to life whenever she expired. After several days of this, the Nazis concluded that it was safe to continue. Project Venom. Project Venom was a Russian experiment to create super soldiers from the series of Dr. Frankenstein. It may also form a basis for the Marvel superhero as well. As a repayment for the use of Russian scientists, Russia had asked that they combine the research of Project Venom with the Nazis' ongoing experiments. Naturally, the Nazis agreed. However, the limited number of orphans was debilitating, as the Nazis required so many of them and could only offer a single girl. The Russians were content and began their proof of concept. They had artificially created an arm over in Moscow, which was on its way to the orphanage to be grafted on to prove that amputation and replacement could work. In the meantime, the Russians had to prepare for this. The girl's right arm was amputated. Mysteriously, shortly after, the Russians packed up their equipment and left. The replacement arm never came, and the girl was left with a bandaged strap over her kimono perpetually. The Russians were said to have left with a fearful haste, as if suddenly the air had turned too cold for their tastes. Rebellion. One child out of the whole orphanage. Too cold for Russians? Yeah, that's the creepy part! One child out of the whole orphanage did not approve of the scientist's presence. In her acts of rebellion, she stole paperwork and ripped it to shreds, broke glassware, and wrecked surgery theaters. Despite her young age of 8 years old and size, she had surprising capacity for destruction. It was noted in a journal that she was heterochromic as well, brown and blue eyes from left to right. The senior scientist despised her, but could not restrain her without arousing suspicion. Instead, they ordered the Nazi soldiers take care of her. She was brutally beheaded and with a blunt bayonet. She was not buried, just left in the woods behind the orphanage. The soldiers told the caretakers that she had found a new family. Hi, Kathy. We're reading Kagome Kagome. Numerous failures. The Nazis attempted to play around with their successful experiment by trying different aspects to it. Sadly, none of them worked. Here is a list of them. Entry through the forehead, performed on a 10-year-old boy. Skull was deformed, and the boy had been virtually lobotomized by the end of it. However, he wasn't vegetative as a result, although he was meant... He was mentally lowered due to the experiment. That was close. I didn't think. Okay. Entry through the lower jaw. Performed on a 6... Yeah. Yeah. This was made in 2010s. Entry through the lower jaw, performed on a 6-year-old girl. The tongue and most of the flesh on the lower jaw was removed and could not be replaced. The subject's sinuses were also scrambled. Entry through the head. Subject was reluctantly half-deaf. He should also be noted that there was no anesthetic during the surgery, and the screams were truly mortifying, as most journals read. Despite the failure of these... Creepypasta? Yeah, creepypastas. I have an affinity for creepypastas. I read them for... Oh god. I read them a lot when I was younger, so I'm like, ooh, let's do this for Halloween. I love Creepypasta, they're so good. Despite the failure of these, the kill switches were still removed, and the subjects acted in much the same way as the first girl, expiring upon sleep. However, they were reduced to a mere 10 people due to all the previous failures, this including the caretakers. They had performed surgery on all the children. Have you read the Rushing Sleep Experiment? Not yet. We read Gateway of the Mind and we're on the second one, which is Kagame Kagame. I wonder if Benjan is on your list? You'll have to see. Maybe I can add to the list if I have extra time, if you all have any suggestions on what to read. Kill switch reversal. The doctors began to formulate ideas that in a child, a kill switch isn't already activated, but in an adult, a kill switch could be reversed using a chemical compound to eliminate the hormone produced, and the kill switch then removed. This was performed on all the caretakers and was, surprisingly, successful, as they all survived. Personalities gone awry. During the experiment, scientists were told to watch over the successful children and monitor their behavior. This part gets freaky. They appear normal at first, just like any other children, playing, cheering, learning normally. But when separated from the others, they seem off. They stroll carelessly around, with a blank smile on their face, their eyes looking straight at you. If approached from behind, the heads snap around with ungodly speed, and for a moment, you can almost see an expression so vile on their faces that it makes you want to cower. But then you realize, they are just forming their dreamy smile again. Another thing is that they follow us, but only when we are on our own. After finishing on my typewriter and heading to my room, I am often given a fright by one of the children standing several meters down the dark hallway, staring at me. When I go off to my room, she follows me, and I shut my door, jam a chair behind it, and then I sleep safely. It feels like they're ghosts at nighttime, and the funny thing is, I keep seeing one child with reddish hair. I keep asking who the child is next morning, but the caretakers say they haven't had a child with reddish hair for a while. They also seem to be playing a game a lot more than when we started. I haven't got much knowledge of Japanese, but it seems the game is named Circle U, Circle U. As described by one of the translators, a group of children surround one child, who sits in the center, alone. They link arms and begin to move in a circular manner around the child, making scary faces at them and singing an eerie chant. You lose if you flinch. Upon talking to them, I've noticed they seem more dreamy, forgetful, and somewhat blank. As if the experiments wipe their memories as well, but it's not an innocent type of dreaming, rather something more sinister. They stare at you with wide eyes and ask you questions never thought they would know. One asked, "When your grandmother died, did she really leave you a gold-plated watch?" It may seem crazy, but my answer on this was, yes. Kagame Kagame means circle, circle. The game translates to Circle U, Circle U. The child who rebelled against the scientists had reddish hair. Demise. In early 1945, Hiroshima is bombed. Germany forfeits, and the experiments are ground to a halt. The Germans began packing up their equipment, most of them having already returned to home due to their mental welfare, stating that they showed signs of insanity. Only 4 scientists remained. After sending the last of the equipment off, the scientists deemed it only justified that they informed the caretakers they were leaving, and they did so. And to the horror of one of the scientists, and the surprise of the rest, the head caretaker said, in fluent German, "Will you play one last game with us?" The 3 scientists agreed, and the circle of children caretakers formed around them. Now, if you flinch, you lose. The one horrified scientist ran to the last truck and jumped on it without looking back. The story now. If you go to Hiroshima, go around the woods, you may find some dirt trails there. If you travel down them, you will see beautiful forests. But if you travel down one that has had signs of trucks going through, you will feel cold. You will see that a lot of trees are cut down, but don't wander from the path or you'll likely get lost in those vast woods. If you pay attention, you will notice that the tree stumps look like kneeling people, missing heads. If you continue, the air will get cold, naturally because you're climbing uphill, right? Of course, eventually you will reach a clearing with an old stone building in the center covering the pieces. Go inside if you want to play. As soon as you open the door, a foul smell will come out, similar to that of a rotting corpse. If you look down the hall, it will be dark regardless of the time of day since there are no lights. Continue down the hall, take the first left, and then go down that hall until you see that one door that appears to be made out of red-colored wood. The rest are brown. Open the door, you will find 10 happy children and caretakers, all wearing kimonos, playing in the normal playroom. One is missing her arm, another is missing his forehead, and a third lacks a jaw, but all are bandaged with clinical precision. This place should be very clean and tidy, depending on your standard of such things, and well lit. I love how I'm listening to this while passing the section of the hospital. Oh, I would bolt it. I could know. Continue down the hall. At once your presence will draw the attention of everyone in the room, including the ones that look far too preoccupied or distracted. They will turn to look at you. Carefree smiles from each of their pleasant faces. The head caretaker, in all her beauty, will ask, "Will you come play with us?" By this time, if you haven't soiled your pants, you really should. Save you trouble later. If you say no, the door will slam shut on you, and if you try to go down the hallways out to the exit, you will only find another dark hallway. Open any of the brown doors, and you should find operating tables or bunk beds. If you continue down the third hallway, you will realize that a girl is standing several meters behind you, her face shrouded by shadow. Approach it, and you will expect your doom. Continue down the hallway and try not to let her catch up with you. If you say yes, however, you will be welcomed into the room. The door will close behind you and everyone will form a circle around you. "Now, sit down and don't flinch," a cheerful voice will say. "Just follow the instructions and you will survive." All light will disappear from the room, yet you can see the circle of children, each with a vicious expression on their face. One is so vile, you will probably flinch straight up. If you can stomach that though, they will begin to move around and around you, slowly. You may feel one of them lash towards you. If you look, however, there will be nothing there, besides the children circling normally. If that wasn't enough, they will begin chanting, "Kagome, Kagome." You really can't explain any further. No one ever lives to tell the tale of what happens next. If you flinch before they chant, they simply continue as normal. If you choose to say maybe to the head caretaker, or anything other than yes or no, it is told that the children's expressions will turn mortifying, Zalgonic almost, and they will scream in inhumane voices, "Decide! Decide!" If you do anything besides say yes or no from here, it is told that the children and caretakers will slam the door on you. If you turn around, the story varies. Supposedly, your worst fear will be waiting on the other hand of the hallway, separating you from your exit. At least you could do is greet the creature before he tears you onto oblivion. If he has the capacity, he may well respond, and you will die as a polite person. Don't greet him, and you will end up as another one of the beheaded bodies along the trail. If you respond, "I don't understand," and you must be genuine, the head caretaker will say, "Go to your school and watch your children play." You should understand then. Nothing will have changed, and close the door on your way out. It's common courtesy. Ah. Ah. I haven't read that one in a while. Or listened to the song. Should I listen to the song after this? I'm not sure if that's the greatest idea in the world. Ooh. Oh my god. Oh yeah. Is that yeah or yay? I can't tell. You listened to the song in my place a couple of weeks ago. Did I? What was the last time I was at your house? Definitely sharing this to the piano section of the hospital. Do it. Show them. And remember, always be polite. Well, maybe a month or so. Okay. Feels like a while for me. Not too long ago. Fair enough. Oh my god. Funny enough, that that song was like the first creepypasta I've ever read. Oh, that's true. You were no go burr for a while. But yeah, Kagame is like the first creepypasta I read, and you know, that alongside the Vocaloid song got me into creepypastas, and now I'm into like all kinds of horror. Nah, I'm gonna get on the PA system. You going to stream? Oh, that's good. Oh, listen to Happy Happy Halloween. I think I heard that song. I'll definitely put it on the list later for myself. Because, oh man. I have this, and my friends and I, hopefully I can finally finish the XA. I hope so. And I hope we all bow down to Model Z and what he does at the end. even in death, Zero will Zero be Zero. But yeah, I want to play Legends. Like, Arceus? Legends Arceus? Is that what you mean? I have Mega Man Legends. Oh, okay. Me who has no fear. I have a story, right? When I was a kid, I was exposed to a lot of horror movies. A lot of the classic ones. It's what's next in the timeline. Oh, fair. But I watched a lot of horror movies as a kid. And it never got to me. Like, I never screamed, despite all my horror related streams, or my fast streams, or my Resident Evil streams might say. I wasn't scared that easily as a kid. In fact, a lot of horror scenes I chuckled. Legends 3 is still cancelled. No, yeah, it's still cancelled. So was Star Force 4. Don't remind me. Pain Lux suit. That's the true horror. That's the true creepypasta. Cancelled Mega Man games. So yeah, when I was a kid, a lot of horror scenes and horror movies, like, I never thought were scary, and I wasn't scared of them. I sort of laughed at them. I was like, haha. Which probably freaked everyone around me out, whoever watched it with me, if there was anyone. I don't remember that part. I was told I was one weird kid. I was weird and you would. I've been starting to question some people's perception of me. I'm not that weird. I'm not that creepy. Although it is creepy, could possibly be the next one on the list. Kathy, it's kind of funny you asking me about a certain creepypasta, because that's actually what's next on the list. That's actually what's up next. The Russian sleep experiment. If I were to give you a training class, would you be a Hex Maniac or an Ace Trainer? Depends on my mood. Though, I do have a certain crush on. If I like Hex Maniac, I like Hex Maniac. The Russian sleep experiment. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days, using an experimental gas based on stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas didn't kill them, since it was high in toxic concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they had only microphones and 5-inch thick glass porthole-sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep on, but no bedding, running water and toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everyone was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised falsely that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past, and the general tone of their conversations took on a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. After 5 days, they began to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were, and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering to their microphones and one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades. The other subjects in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. How bad would it be if I dressed as a Grim Reaper and visited the hospital? You would more than likely freak out several people. Although if you did it today, it could probably be taken as like a bad joke at worst. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber, repeatedly yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. He continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it. Or rather, didn't react to it. They continued whispering to the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The 2 non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own feces, and pasted them calmly over the glass portholes. The screaming promptly stopped. With opportunities. So did the whispering to the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working, since they had thought it impossible that no sound could be coming from with 5 people inside. The oxygen consumption in its chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the captives they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. I mean, there's someone here dressed as... I think Halloween brings out the most dark humor in people. Like, dark humor becomes more okay during Halloween, I think. They announced... Oh, wait. Oh, that's one of them speaking. I can do this. Where is it? We are opening the chamber to test the microphone. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor, or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of your immediate freedom. Me, who's a dark humor? I love dark humor. Dark humor, best humor. It's especially funny if we say it dry and bland, like a fact. To their surprise, they heard a single phrase in a calm voice respond, "We no longer want to be freed." Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provide any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. Oh, this is the Russian experiment? Yes, the Russian sleep experiment. The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was open, and soldiers were sent to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state of any of them in life. The food rations past day 5 had not been as much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subject's sides and chests stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth, as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination of the position and the angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects had been removed, while the hearts, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the ribcage. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact, and they had been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen as working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They continued to scream, to be left in the chamber, and alternately begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on, lest they fell asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out. Another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery in his leg severed by one of the subject's teeth. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives if you count ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living test subjects had his spleen ruptured and he bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arm of one doctor. When the heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he had bled out to the point there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach and just repeating the word "more" over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility. The 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had had. In the process of preparing the subjects to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative they had given him to prepare for the surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints when the anesthetic gas was brought to put him under. He managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even though the weight of a 200-pound soldier holding that wrist as well. It took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that the blood had triple the amount of normal level of oxygen. His muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in his struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force of his own muscles had exerted on them. The second survivor had been the first of the group of the 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords were destroyed, and he was unable to beg or object to surgery, and he only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested reluctantly they try the surgery without anesthetic, and did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover with them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should be medically possible for the patient to still be alive. One terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so the patient could write his message. It was simple. Keep cutting. The other 2 subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetic as well. Although they had to be injected with a paralytic for the duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients had laughed continuously. Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. Only one response was given. I must remain awake. All 3 subjects' restraints were reinforced, and they were placed back into the chamber, awaiting determination as to what should be done with them. The researchers, facing the wrath of their military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their project, considering euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer, an ex-KGB, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected, but were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the chamber again, they were connected to the EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all 3 stopped struggling the moment it was let slip that they were going back on the gas. It was obvious that at this point, all 3 were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bonds with all his might. First left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired for EEG, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering brain death before returning to normal. Whoa. As they focused on paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw his eyes slip shut at the moment his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time, as his heart simultaneously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be stilled, and now his brainwaves showed the same flat lines as the one who died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside, as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subject, still restrained to a bed as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room. "I won't be locked in here with these things! Not with you!" He screamed at the man strapped to the table. "What are you?" he demanded. "I must know!" The subject smiled. "Have you forgotten so easily? We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from your bed every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to Nocturnal Haven, where we cannot tread." The researcher paused, then aimed at the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined as the subject weakly choked out, "So nearly free." Oh! What are you humming about, Cafe? You know this creepypasta. Joke on them, I'm an introvert. Yeah, imagine not sleeping. Imagine sleeping? Who sleeps? What sleep? Sleep doesn't exist. Sleep is a myth. Ugh. Oh, also, it is Halloween, so in celebration, I have a bunch of chocolate with me, which I will be eating periodically because it calms me down. I have some Reese's cups, Snickers, and some Whoppers. Chocolate is your copium? Maybe. I mean, who doesn't like some chocolate? Copium or not, who doesn't just want like some chocolate, you know? Like, is that so weird to want chocolate? Wait, where's my chocolate? Do you want chocolate, Cafe? The copium helps to numb the fear. Have you seen the memes I made about Noir? I've seen some of them, like on Twitter, right? I've seen a few, but I haven't really been able to be on Twitter too much. Just due to how busy I've been. Luckily, I was able to be off on Halloween to do this, but oh my god. Both Discord and Twitter. I've seen at least the Twitter ones. Oh, as the ones ones about Lucina killing / eating Noir. It's I will say, yeah, that one. I will say the timing of Lucina is kind of wild, considering when I asked for this room to be made. Because if you look on the bed, you might see a couple of familiar faces. It's just kind of funny how this happens. Rip Noir 2020 to 2022. Sometimes I can still hear her voice. What is that? What did I do? What did I do? In the back. Maybe. Bucket and I were wondering how to put, like, what form of plush we could have for you. Cause, like, Noir had her chibi form and we were like, that's easy, we can put that. But then we were like, what would we put for Zeph? And then we just looked at your basically your channel icon and like, bleh. You turned me into a marketable plushie. I turned you, Noir, Yule, Bucket, and myself into marketable plushies. Where's my coffee tribute? I only had enough room for 5 to make it, like, believable, I guess. I don't know, I didn't want to be filled with too many plushies. So I picked 5 of my closest friends. Plus myself. Yeah. I love the... I just love what's in this room, cause, like, God, it's just so good. I love it so much. I don't think I can gush about how much I love this room. By the way, random question. How often do you guys take the bus? Or had taken the bus in the past? Just curious. Had to do so every day for work? Did you ever... Steph, did you ever had, like, night shifts? Back when you're... Oh, okay, okay. Oh, okay, I understand. Because this next one may or may not be bus related. This. No, I didn't have night shifts, but I worked late sometimes. Oh, okay. The next one is the final bus of Route 375. The story happened on the bleak night of November 14th, 1995 in Beijing. An old man, some also say an old woman, was waiting at a bus stop at midnight. Picking up a conversation was the only other person at the stop, who was a quiet young gentleman. When the midnight bus 375, the last bus for Route 375 from the Huanminghan bus terminus, finally came, they both decided to board it. The old man took a seat near the front of the bus while the young man sat a couple of rows behind him. There was no other passenger along with them than the driver and a decent lady ticket collector. After a while, the driver spotted two shadows by the side of the road, waving at the bus. The driver stopped, and when the doors opened, 3 people got on. They were 2 men who were supporting a third between them, holding him up by his shoulders. The man in the middle was looking disheveled, and his head was bowed, so nobody could see his head, and there was a dismal, calm atmosphere inside the bus. Shortly after, the old man picked up a fight with the young man, under some silly pretext of stealing his wallet. The altercation escalated, and the bus driver forced them both off the bus. When they got off and the bus zoomed away, the old man was no longer angry, and he told the young man that he had saved their lives. Because the new 3 passengers did not have feet and were floating. They were not living people, he said. After that, he went to the nearest police station to report this event, but nobody believed them. But the very next day, the bus company issued a statement. Last night, the final bus for Route 375 had vanished along with the driver and the ticket lady. The police immediately chased down the old man and the young man, who were assumed to be mentally ill, and when they were tried to raise the alarm earlier. They were both interviewed on the news. On the 3rd day, the police revealed that the allegedly missing bus in the water reservoir about 100 kilometers away from its destination, Fragrant Hills. Inside the bus, there were 3 very badly decomposed corpses, and the mysteries surrounding this finding included: the bus did not have enough petrol for it to keep going after that far for a whole day's worth of travel. The police found that the petrol tank was filled with fresh blood instead of petrol. The corpses found were too decomposed for just 48 hours. Even if it is summer, for the process of decomposition would not be this quick. An autopsy confirmed that there had been no intentional meddling with the bodies. The police went through all the security camera tapes set up for the various entrances to access the reservoir, but found nothing out of the ordinary. To this day, it remains an unsolved mystery. This is apparently based on an actual Beijing urban legend. So, don't take buses at night. Just don't. Just, stay home. Cool. Just, cool. How you feeling? How you feeling? I didn't want to sleep tonight anyway. Whew. Oh, but Zeph, make sure you get some sleep. Because who knows what may happen to you if you don't. Oh, take it. Oh, right. I forgot. I also have a Hershey. Fuck, no! It's okay, Zeph. The lesson learned here is, if you sleep, you're fucked. If you don't sleep, you are also fucked. You'll be fine. Is it time for the for the super photoshopped image of it's me, demons, ya boy, to pop up on screen? If I actually saw it that far ahead, I would. I'll put you on the night bus, damn it. That implies you go out. Oh. It's okay, Zeph. I only touch grass to go to work. I don't have that luxury right now. I wouldn't call having to go outside for work exactly a luxury. I wouldn't call going outside a luxury. The world is hard and cold. Kitty soft and warm. I don't know, walks with my sister. Oh, that's actually kind of cute. That's pretty cute, actually. Wholesome. I mean, this is what we need right now. Some wholesome tete. In the middle of bloody Halloween during a creepypasta reading. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't get to spend nearly enough time with this, so I enjoy it. Aww. Pat, pat. Pat, pat. That's really wholesome, actually. I respect it. I had no other words besides saying that, so here I go. Can't walk very far because of health, so this is another carry on my back. Aw. I mean, that's nice. I never really got a chance to go on a walk just cuz. Not for a while, anyway. I've been spending that time learning how to drive. Although the next one is going to be very, very interesting. And fits the season, I suppose, considering it's starting to be hoodie season. Yeah, she plans on teaching me how to drive. Oh, that's good. Literally carry her back and now she teaches you how to drive. That's the payback. It is hoodie season, but if you're planning on buying a new hoodie, I would suggest being careful. Have you ever been influenced by clothing? I don't mean confidence by looks. Have you ever been given more control than ever by an item? Or a truce? Or just a favorite shirt? Have you ever been influenced in the worst way? By showing the truce? I'm quite fine with my hoodie, thank you very much. Hopefully it's a good one. The following is taken directly from journal entries. The entries were written by a notorious but unknown killer. He is notorious in the means that everybody has seen his work. He is unknown because nobody knows that he has done it. His origin is unusual. No troubles, no evil family, no magic or paranormal forces. His life was chosen by him, and him alone. His identity is also unknown. He will be named from here on as the Hooded Man. April 3, 2004. It's been really cold around here. I don't have anything really to cover myself. All I have are my t-shirts and jeans, so today I decided to get a jacket. I was just in a local store, nothing special. The black hoodie with white lining. I think it looks pretty cool. And when I tried it on, the attendant said it suits me fine. I said thanks to be polite. Common courtesy is so hard to find. Can't be bad, it says dinosaurs are cool. Dinosaurs are cool. It's weird to say, like a few days ago I had like dino-shaped nuggets. Leaving it at that. So I bought it. Haven't really taken it off yet. Not only is it warm, but I can really see myself doing amazing things in it. When I look at the mirror, I smirk. I feel amazing. I can't really explain it, but I like it. I really like it. I feel the need to put my hood up. Something about the hood has a way of masking a person. Even though it shows their face, it hides something somewhere. It's really late now. I've been feeling so great all day. Time flew around me. I'll have to explain more tomorrow. April 10. I had a hell of a week. It felt so great. I walked the halls like a big shot. I'm sure I look smug. That's why Jack challenged me. He was so angry. Who never knew ignoring an insult was more insulting than responding with shrewd comments about someone's family? He antagonized me. Now, there's a reference. There's a reference. I was waiting for someone to say it. He asked for it. He threw a hard punch and I stood. It stung harder than before when I actually argued with him. I felt so cool all week. My confidence kept me up. I punched him hard in the stomach and I lifted him up with an underhook. It felt so good. It really did. Parents calling. April 14. Jack still isn't out of the hospital. They said he's in a lot of pain. He spit a lot of blood. His parents told me over the phone. I reflected on it. On how great it felt when my fists connected. How his cracked scream sounded. That's good to hear, I said blankly. I don't care about Jack. I smiled at his pain. I kept staring. I kept staring at my mirror. I'm always wearing my favorite hoodie. It feels so empowering. My friends would laugh at what I say. They would compare me to Spider-Man in his black suit. Spider-Man threw his power away. I don't plan on doing anything with my source of confidence. April 22. Jack has gone to a better place. The words rang through my ears. He's dead. Lost too much blood. His father told me the day I visited that he was losing blood to a personal health condition. But the way his mother looked at me told me the real story. I killed him. I still remember the satisfaction of hitting him. I never wanted to kill him. I need to think about what I've done, right? That'll fix my feelings. But what is there to think about? Regret is a foolish emotion. I don't need regret. April 24. Dad has been avoiding me lately, and Mom just tells me she loves me. They both want me to feel endless guilt, but I won't. Or rather, I can't. I can fake it for the public, but the truth is I'm not sorry. Spider-Man's story is starting to make me think more. But why would a cursed or possessed hoodie land in my possession? Everybody who knew Jack glares at me. Everyone who I would talk to have transferred themselves out of my class or went to a different school. Teachers don't look at me much, or go on to me if I'm breaking any rule. Today, I threw a pencil at my history teacher, hit his shoulder. He just froze for a second and continued what he was doing. Everyone either hates me and probably wants me dead, or they fear me. My writing is the only comfort I have. I can be at peace and let myself go. April 25th. They provoked me. They threatened me. I had no choice. They would have killed me. My hood protected my face. The knife naturally moved from Rob's hand to mine. I didn't mean to. The writing was a short line at this point. April 30th. 5 days. 5 days being interrogated and sleeping in a cell. They decided I was only defending myself. I could hear Mom and Dad talking. They want me gone. They're both scared. I was an idiot to think that this jacket of mine was possessing me, or changing my personality. It's just a really cool jacket. I love how it looks. I feel like such a badass. I remember how I put the hood up. I put it up when Jack challenged me. I put it up when those guys tried to kill me. I feel no remorse. I feel indifferent. I'm in control. I have finally come to realize insanity. I wanted to kill them. All of them. I needed only a push and the confidence to fight. I got it. Mom and Dad are irritating me. They all irritated me. They all turned a kid into a sociopath, basically. This is basically what happened. I think that's creepy in its own right, where it's not like supernatural. Unless you think the hoodie was the reason. I don't know, I think it could be interpreted that he was always crazy. Which, you know, I think is an issue. That one feels like it should have been the starter. Yeah, but I want to start with like the most popular one. Or at least like, what, I don't know, I consider Gateway of the Mind like the creepypasta, if that makes sense. If not something like Jeff the Killer or Ben Drowned. Gateway creepypasta, if you will, basically. Was it? I wonder what the first creepypasta was, now that I think about it. I don't know if it was exactly Gateway. Gateway is a gateway? Gateway is a gateway. Gateways into Kagame, which gateways into everything else. No, the real gateway to creepypastas is like Vocaloid. Then again, Vocaloid I think is the gateway to many, many things. So many things. Ah yes, the floor here is made of floor. The creepypasta is made of pasta. Creepypasta. Or as some people call it, spooky spaghetti. Okay, that was that was very stupid. I regret that thing that immediately. Oh my god. Spooky spaghetti. Freaky fettuccine. God damn it. Oh, right. This is the next one. It's one of my favorites. Or should I swap it? I don't know if I should swap it. Should I swap the order a little bit? I wonder. Pulse pounding peen? Pen? What's that last word? Is that another pasta? Is that another pasta? Another pasta, yes? Okay. Good to know. Oh yeah, now we're getting to like the longer ones. Now we're getting to the meat of it. But I did save some of the longer ones for last, at least I think so. It's the kind of pasta that is shaped like a tube that has the edges cut edges cut at a slant. I think I've seen that. I don't know if I should allow that message. Hold on. He said it. Okay, it looks like it's okay, question mark? Listen. Listen. Sometimes I read too fast and then shit like that happens, okay? Okay. Fuck you. I mean, sorry, that's true. I'm just worried. I don't know, I'm a little partially worried. They're rather vulgar. Yeah. I basically leave it at, does a person... I'm like, who else has said that has said this publicly? I'm like, is it okay? It's probably okay. Oh. Yeah, I have seen those. Okay. Okay, yeah, I have seen those. I've just never had them. Any Aussie has said it publicly? I'm thinking of like two very specific VTubers. And I'm like, there's no way there's no way those two are too innocent. Van Sonic, yeah. Yeah. Basically. Bay especially. Bay, I like Bay a lot. You have to be innocent for Hololive. That's true. There was that moment where they went full Aussie though. It's kind of funny. Okay, that's enough delaying because this next one is listed more like an internet forum. So, I have to see how I can do this correctly. Okay. Apparently it's pronounced Aussie. I don't know, man. I don't have an Australian accent. I don't know. I'm not Australian, last I checked. But yeah, this is... Ooh. Ooh. It comes most often at night. That memory. Gnawing in some corner of your mind like a rodent chewing the corners of the dry wall. The memory of some brightly lit cartoon funland or a world of puppets. A memory of a TV show. You would watch, seated cross-legged on the living room floor with a fixed, enthusiastic attention only a child can give. Attention that you wish now you perhaps hadn't given so freely, for there is something about that show, something about the discordant music, the details of the characters, their motivations in the storyline. The fixed maniacal grins that they seem, looking back, to be altogether too sinister to be a children's show. You try to block the memory out, and yet, there in the back of your mind, most often at night, the puppet's fixed grin keeps on smiling. It says that, but then I remember stuff like Cartoon Network snuck a lot of things past censors. Go lurk for a bit? Okay. But yeah, yeah. And I'm like, is it really that bad for a children's show? I don't know. That Nostalgia Forum, television, local. Subject, Candle Cove local kids show? Does anyone remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and I think I must have been 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was a local station around 1971 or 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on a weird time, like 4 p.m. Brock's Modern Life had a lot that was like, yeah. And that was Skyshale 033. It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland and was 9 years old in 72. Candle Cove? Was it about pirates? I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl. Mike Painter, 65. Yes! Okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls. Real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll. Looked like an antique that didn't belong in the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF though. Skyshale 033. Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what you mean, Skyshale. I think Candle Cove ran for only a couple months in 71, not 72. I was 12 and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me switch to it after news. Let me see if I remember. It took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. The pirate ship was called the Laughing Stock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And Calliope music constantly playing. Don't remember the girl's name. Janice or Jade or something? I think it was Janice. Jaren 2005. Thank you, Jaren! Memories flooded back when you mentioned the laughingstock in Channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship was a wooden smiling face with the lower jaw submerged. It looked like it was swallowing the sea, and it had that awful Edwin voice and laugh. I especially remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked. Skyshell033. I remember now too. Do you remember this part, Skyshell? You have to go inside. Whoa. Mike Painter 65. Ugh, Mike, I got chill reading that. Yes, I remember. That's what the ship always told Percy, that when there was a spooky place he had to go in, like a cave or a dark room where the treasure was. And the camera would push in on Laughingstock's pace with each pause. You have to go inside. With his two eyes askew, and that flopping foam jaw and the fishing line that opened and closed it. Ugh. It just looks so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above really tall, narrow teeth. Skyshell033. I honestly thought the villain was Pirate Percy. I was about 5 when the show was on. Nightmare fuel. Kevin Hart. That wasn't the villain. The puppet with the mustache, that was the villain's sidekick, Horace Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that had meant he had only one eye. But yeah, the villain was another marionette, the Skin Taker. I can't believe what they let us watch back then. Jaren 2005. Jesus H. Christ, the Skin Taker. What kind of kids show were we watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the Skin Taker showed up. He just descended out of nowhere on his strings, just a dirty skeleton wearing that brown top hat and cape, and his glasses that were too big for his skull. Christ almighty. Kevin Hart. Wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn up crazily? Was that supposed to be children's skin? Skyshell033. Yeah, I think so. Remember what his mouth didn't open and close? His jaw just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, "Why does your mouth move like that?" And the Skin Taker didn't look at the girl, but at the camera, and just said, "To grind your skin." Mike Painter 65. I'm so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream. I had to, where the opening jingle ended, the show faded in from black, and all the characters were there. But the camera was just cutting to each of their faces, and they were just screaming. And the puppets and marionettes were flailing spastically, and just all screaming. The girl was just moaning and crying like she had been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. Skyshell033. I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. I remember that was an episode. Kevin Hart. No. Not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, literally just standing in place, crying and screaming for the whole show. Skyshell033. Maybe I'm manufacturing the memory because you said that, but I swear to God I remember seeing what you described. They just screamed. Kevin Hart. Oh God, yes. The little girl Janice, I remember seeing her shake, and the Skin Taker screaming through his gnashing teeth, his jaws careening so wildly, I thought it would come off its wire hinges. I turned it off, and it was the last time I watched. I ran to tell my brother, and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. Jaren 2005. I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her about when I was little in the early 70s, when I was 8 or 9, if she remembers the kids show Candle Cove. She said she was surprised I could remember that, and I asked why. And she said, because I used to think it was so strange that you said, "I'm going to watch Candle Cove now, Mom." And when you tune the TV to static, and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had big imagination with your little pirate show. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, I didn't. Oh, I need. Can I have something just for this, and it's my. It's my. It may or may not be my very emergency happy music. I need my emergency happy music. Oh, Jesus H Christ. I just. Why? 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 Oh, my heart's racing. Jesus H Christ. I fucking can't, man. That is one of my favorite stories. Okay, that's enough of the happy music. That's enough of the happy music. That is one of my favorite stories. I can't, dude. Freaks me out way too much. Just, it's dead air. Yeah, that was supernatural as all shit. Oh, I can only imagine. Oh my god. I can't, man. I fucking can't. Oh, I wanna read the next one the more I go here, though. The more I'm like, I don't wanna. Jesus H Christ. Oh, but we gotta keep going. I want to do this list because it's so fun, but so horrifying. This next one I only gave a skim through as well. Oh, but I gave the skim through. I'm like, oh, this is good. So, ooh, I hope so. Oh, Jesus H Christ. The next one is Spook Inc. The author, by the way, says a happy Halloween to everyone. So happy Halloween. Spook. A ghost, specter, or phantom. Slang for an undercover agent. A spy. To make frightened. It was a dark and stormy night, aside from the bright flash of orange that, too, stormed through the pattering rain. It was a Wednesday, and it was October, and it was cold. And the rain didn't help with that. And in the middle of the woods, the bright orange of a Loom Country jumpsuit stuck out like a sore thumb. A sore thumb still stained with black ink. Take him again, he said, lifting his thumbs between the cold metal bars that separated him, the warden, and the chaplain. It wasn't the first time he asked for a retrial either, and every time he got turned down. Your ass is going to the chair, Sammy, the warden said, smirking as he turned to the chaplain beside him, who wore a somber face. You ain't getting out of here, and no fingerprints ain't gonna change that now. One booming crack of lightning snapped him from his daydream, and Sammy realized that he was sinking into the earth, a good 2 inches or so, where the rain lapped up in layers like bubbling vomit against the mossy mud. He lifted one of his shitty shoes, the eyesore cheapo kind from the prison, and continued charging through the storm with damp and fallen leaves snapping beneath his feet. The dogs would be coming. There was no time to rest. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest, Jesus said. The chaplain said. He rested a hand on Sammy's shoulder, which was muscular and warm and tense. Wait, who's talking? The chaplain? Wait, chattamate. The chaplain said warden and the chaplain. Let's separate him, the warden and the chaplain. Huh. I Can't rest yet, Sammy said. There are things I haven't done yet. What have you left done, Samuel? The chaplain said, his hand squeezing Sammy's shoulders now. Sammy spoke through the gritted teeth. I haven't killed them yet. Who? The people that put me in here. The chaplain removed his hand from Sammy's shoulder and cleared his throat. Dio Termini 32:35, the chaplain said, calmly. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. No, Sammy interrupted. It's mine. Another crash of lightning, this one closer and sharper, caused the ground to rumble beneath those shitty shoes of his. Sammy looked forward and realized that he was approaching clearing, so he approached. It was a wide, open field amidst the woods, the full hunter's moon looming overhead as the rain pummeled the acre or so of darkly shaded grass covered with a thick fog, whisking about in the wind. And at the edge of the clearing where the tree line met was a misty knoll, his sat a house, a mansion, with large pillars that stretched over the rows of broken windows and chipped off paint slivers. It was a plantation house, one of those ones from the antebellum days, an abandoned plantation house. Shelter, a hiding spot. Sammy trotted across the field, looking over his shoulder and listening for the dogs, until he reached a giant building that, despite its apparent vacancy, seemed oddly out of place and out of time. The rain stopped as soon as he took his first step up the 6 stairs towards the front door. He could still hear it drumming on the mansion roofing, but for now, he was sheltered. At the last step, which creaked beneath his weight, he could hear the thud of his damp shoe ricochets through the porch, only to be drowned out by the continual rain and thunder that boomed in the distant woods. He approached the large wooden doors with lion-shaped door knockers on either side. Instead of using them, he merely pushed his muscle-bound shoulder against the wood. It creaked, and then the door swung open. He wasn't expecting the light, neither were his eyes, which took a long moment to adjust to the inside of the house. It was candlelit, with a faded, somewhat eerie glow of orange draped upon the blackened and torn wallpaper. It flickered in the stillness of the house, with thus left unsettled before Sammy, somewhat unsettled himself, spoke up. Hello? He asked into the surrounding darkness, glancing down to the candles perched atop a nearby desk. He took another step outside. Another step inside. Close the door, a woman's voice said out of nowhere. It spooked Sammy so bad that he let out a gasp which jolted, which seemingly contrary to his large stature for a response to such a soft-spoken request. You'll let in the draft, the woman smiled. Though Sammy couldn't see it, he turned to face the door again, but noticed the broken windows aligning the wall, the rain flying in and pooling up in the creaky old floor. Only kidding, she said. This place is a draft. Sammy turned to face the woman as she stepped into the candlelight. She was younger than her voice made her sound, with chiseled cheeks and puckered lips, and hair that swung past her shoulders. Sammy's natural reaction was to wonder whether or not she was good. In the sack, but then a heavy fear washed over him as he wondered why in the hell she was even there at all. My dog started barking and I almost freaked the fuck out. Jesus Christ. What are you doing in here? I could ask you the same question. The woman smiled with a flash of her white teeth, coinciding with a conveniently timed bolt of lightning outside. But judging by your outfit, I already know the answer. Sammy looked down to the bright orange of his jumpsuit, somewhat darker than the usual, given the rain. He began to take it off, revealing some of his dark skin beneath, but stopped when he realized he wasn't wearing anything else, and the woman had her eyes locked on him. Oh. This is a lot more intense than I thought. You can take that off all you want, Sam, she said with a grin and wink, approaching him. But as long as you've got this, she said, pinching his dark face beneath his jaw, you'll never stop running. He froze, somewhat turned on by the woman, but more concerned about how the hell she knew his name. How did you... Please, Sam, you think you're the first runaway to stumble upon us? Sammy's face puckered like he had eaten sour candy. We? The woman lifted her head, and Sammy followed. Above them, aside from the pitter-pattering of the rain, he could make out the sounds of light footsteps from the second floor. You really think I'd be out here all by my lonesome, little old me? She smiled. Who are you? Who are we? She asked, correcting him. We're in good company, remember? She said while pointing upward. And that's exactly what we are. A company. Spook Incorporated, she said. Spook Inc? Sammy asked, a smile creeping up onto his face at the sound of such a name. Sorry, she said. Hope I didn't offend you. You didn't. Spook Inc. has been around for a long time, Mr. Price. All the way back to the Underground Railroad. In fact, some of those fairy tones still exist beneath this very house to this very day, she said as she tapped the creaky floor with her foot ever so slightly. What kind of story is this? Should I keep reading? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I should keep reading this. Should I keep reading this? I'm really not sure. I don't think I should. I think I should stop. I'm not exactly sure if I should keep reading this. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put the hold on that one. Then, oh boy. That's fine. That's fine. Not okay. Not okay at all. Oh. Jesus H. Christ. I need another chocolate. I need more chocolate. I need more chocolate in me. Now, there is actually 2 more left, but I'm like, what order do I do this in? I don't know. I wonder if I should end this on... It depends, because they're 2 completely different tones. One was actually suggested to me by a friend. So... Yule specifically. I think I should leave that for last, just to end it on like some kind of positive note, because Jesus fucking Christ. Gonna need some trick in these treats, you know? So, I wonder if any of you ever want to time travel. Because apparently, time travel is not what you think it's like. My name is Clark. I am one of 3 people who can truthfully say that they have time traveled. It's not what you think it's like. I'm not really certain how they selected us. I was working on my bachelor's degree at my state university when I was approached by the team. Project BTA-OW33 is what they called it. No cool name like Project X or Project Alpha Time Warp or something along the lines. Just that. Whatever that means. They approached me and asked if I'd like to take part in the experiment in exchange for my tuition being paid for. I only had a year left in school, but those 2 semesters were going to cost me $32,000. So of course I said yes. When they asked what the experiment was, they told me it was extremely secretive. I would be finding out details the day of, then I could decide to back out if I didn't want to participate. About 6 weeks went by, and I was basically on call to be ready to go whenever they needed me. Finally, I got the call. I live in Atlanta, and the team had the 3 of us meet up in the parking deck about 20 minutes outside the city. Once there, we all got on one of those short school buses, and they took us out to the northern Georgia mountains. It was about a 2-hour drive, and we didn't really get much time to get to know each other. We were under strict rules to not reveal information about ourselves or talk to each other on the bus ride over. The last couple of the miles were on a rocky dirt road leading down to the mountain. The bus called in a small, maybe half-acre stretch of grass. Is that glass? Grass? The grass was freshly mowed, and I could tell by sight and smell The alcove of the grass was enclosed by large trees from the surrounding forest. Alright, the man stood up from his seat at the front of the bus. We're here. I'll brief you all once we get inside the house. As we got off the bus one by one, we could see that in the center of the clearing was a building. It was a one very large window on one side, basically encompassing the entire wall. Every other wall was black on the outside, and I could see through the windows that the inside was painted white. There was a large silver metal ring that surrounded the house. It came about 3 inches off the freshly mowed grass, was a foot wide, and had lights coming from drilled holes all the way around it. Watch your step, and please do not step on top of the ring, the same man said. Once we get inside, just go ahead and take a seat. We all stepped over the ring and made our way into the house. The house, as the man called it, was made up of only one room. Inside, there were 4 chairs around a rather large circular table. The chairs, table, walls, and the one lamp were all white. The only thing that wasn't white in the room were the pair of bookshelves against each wall, both empty. After we took our seats, the man introduced himself. Alrighty, welcome, welcome. My name is Dr. Olson. I'm glad you all decided to take part in history. As we told you all, this is extremely sensitive information. After my explanation of what this experiment consists of, I'll ask you if you want to continue. Understand? What if we don't want to continue? Omen said, about my age with fiery hair. Then we know this super secret information, right? And you're going to let us walk out of here? The man gave a smile. He knew this would be asked. Yes, you are free to leave here knowing what the experiment consists of. However, the university and I are confident of 3 things. 1. You won't want to leave. 2. The university's attorneys are rather powerful and you already signed the NDAs. And 3. No one will believe you if you tell them. Silence filled the room. The redhead slouched back in her chair, a nonverbal, well, go on then. The experiment, Dr. Olson continued, is time travel. I smiled, but wasn't sure why. The others seemed to snort a little in amusement. The tensions in the room seemed to release. Now, I know it sounds, crazy. I've heard it all before. I'm not asking you to believe in me. I'm asking you to just sit in this room, observe, and tell me what happens. We all nodded in agreement. A couple of okays filled the air. The doctor carried on. All right, this is how it'll work. I'm going to drive up to the control center. It's just about 5 minutes up the mountain. I have a couple of colleagues there as well. From there, I will flip the switch in layman's terms. When Dr. Olson began his next sentence, he leaned forward and his face took on a very stern, angry father quality. Do not leave this room. After I walk out, do not leave. Do not leave until I come back down the mountain, walk back inside this room, and tell you that you can leave. I have done this experiment before, but not on humans. I know it works. I know it's safe. I can promise you this is safe. I cannot promise your safety though, if you leave the house. I remember the air shifting to an uneasy feel. Are you sure this is safe? What have you tested it on? What's it going to feel like? A scrawny blonde guy said, we couldn't have been older than 21. The doctor continued, I know it is safe. No animal I have used this has been affected by this. I've used rats and progressed up to dogs. No bruises, no cuts, no change in behavior. And to be honest with you all, I don't know what you should expect. I'm not sure if it feels like a tingle, a sting, a pinch, or anything else. This is the first human trial, which is why you need to pay attention to any sensation you feel. Wait, okay, if we are actually about to time travel, where or when are we traveling to? I asked. You will be launching 3 hours into the future. Once activated at the control site, this building will disappear. My team and I will be on standby for 3 hours, then poof, the house is back with all you in it. 3 hours into the future. A silent song followed. A long silence followed. I'm skeptic of just about anything, but something about Dr. Olson's tone, his body language, the way he was explaining it, it was hard for me to doubt. He was dead serious. When it was clear that there were no more questions, Dr. Olson looked at his watch, stood up, and cleared his throat. Alrighty then. It is 1:22 p.m. right now. So by the time I make it to the control site, it should be just before 1:30. Warm-up only takes about 2 minutes, so we'll mark your projected arrival around at 4:30. Was there any questions or concerns? No one spoke. Okay, I'll see you all in 3 hours. Or, from your perspective, just a couple minutes. The doctor winked, nodded, and closed the door behind him after adding, "Safe travels." The 3 of us stood from our chairs as we watched the doctor drive off. Then we all turned on one another, the tension yet again easing. Well, he sure knows how to make an entrance and an exit, the redhead said. No kidding, the blonde kid answered. Well, nice to meet you, fellow time travelers. We all chuckled a bit, that nervous sort of laughter. My name's Ryan. I'm Clark, I replied with a handshake to follow. Emma, she said with a smile that could make any man or woman's head turn. We exchanged pleasantries, talked about our schoolings and how we were selected. Emma was the first to ask what we were all thinking. So, what's the chance this is legit? Don't get me wrong, I would love to be the world's first time traveler, but I feel like this is going to end in a dud. Or we were just being pranked. Yeah, Ryan replied. When he was explaining everything, I thought it may be a prank. Like, this may be an actual experiment from the university, but to experiment to see if they could convince people they time traveled. That's meta, I quipped. Oh, guys, look! Emma was staring at the larger window. The ring that surrounded the building was slowly getting brighter. It looked like 100 laser pointers slowly brightening, shining up onto the overcast sky. Does this mean we're in the 2-minute warm-up? I said, already knowing the answer. I guess so, Emma started. God, my heart is racing. Mine too. Same. We all stood perfectly still, watching those skinny beams of light grow brighter, until it was nearly blinding. I turned to look at Emma. Her pupils were closing at the size of a pencil tip, maybe smaller. Her gaze, along with Ryan's, was locked on the beams. I could see their faces being more illuminated each second that passed. Second after second, it just kept getting brighter, and brighter, and brighter until it was like we were being engulfed by the sun. And in less than a second, it was dark. I chose my words carefully. Less than a second. It was not like turning off a light. It was not like shutting your eyes. It was faster. It was instant. I saw Emma's pupils quickly grow large as the absence of light from the windows met her retina. The inside of the house was still illuminated, thanks to the one lamp in the main room. Outside the window was nothing. Not nighttime, not black, not pitch black. Nothing. It almost had a color to it, but one I can't explain. It gave off no light. It was the color that a blind man sees. It was the color of our sleeping nights in between dreams. It was the color of death. It was nothing. We all kind of looked around, about a minute of silence, all staring at the same window and devoid of absence. What the fuck is happening? Emma said in a shaky voice. I began. My heart stopped beating, Ryan said bluntly. I saw Emma raise 2 fingers to her neck. I didn't have to. I could feel it. It was one of the first things I noticed. When I was staring at Emma's pupils as the light reached its crescendo, my heart was racing, and as soon as the light disappeared, so did the rhythmic thumping of my heart. Fuck, what the fuck is happening? Emma began to panic. Wait, this is just a part of it, Ryan started. I really freaked out too, trust me. Obviously something is happening if you believe the doctor, which I'm starting to. We may be, traveling through time. Jesus Christ. I actually agree with him. Yeah, you're right. We just need to pay attention to this so we can explain later. Okay. Heartbeat stopped. Check. We're still alive. Check. And that void abyss thing? Check. We turned to the window in unison. I don't like looking at it, Emma said. It's unnatural. It's, I don't know, not supposed to be. It's not black, but it has no light, I don't think. She wasn't wrong. I'm kind of glad I don't have a heartbeat right now, because I think I'd have a heart attack, I joked. Anxious laughs filled the small space. We finally moved from our spots where we were staring out the window. It was a relief to move around the room. Not sure why, we were quiet for a couple minutes. Emma was sitting in a chair with her knees tucked up to her chest, occasionally checking her non-existing pulse or looking at her hands. Ryan leaned against the back wall, staring out the window. I pulled up a chair next to Emma's and joined in her quiet atmosphere. Our peaceful still was broken with Ryan's words. Clark, Emma, there's something out there. I looked at him, then out the window. What do you mean? Emma asked. Out there, I can see things. Your mind is playing tricks on you. You know, like when you're in a pitch black room, your mind will see lights and shapes and stuff, I said. No, he countered. It's there. Look out there. You can see. I don't know how to describe it. Just look. Emma and I both turned our attention once again to the emptiness. It was still. It was quiet. It was unmoving, abnormal. Yet it felt like it was meant to be there, like it was at home, and we were its intruders. I don't see anything, Emma said. Me either. Ryan continued to stare out, unflinching. Emma and I stayed at the table, fiddling with our fingers and nervously finger-tapping. I'm not sure how much time had passed before the silence was broken. All I know is it felt like a long time. Maybe an hour, maybe 2. Well, this is taking quite some time, isn't it? Emma said. Seriously, I feel like we've been here for a couple hours, I responded. No, Ryan said. Not even a second has passed. Emma and I glanced looks of confusion at each other. What do you mean? Not even a second has passed, he repeated, his gaze still locked on the void. Time doesn't pass in here when you look into it. Into it. You see, no time has passed. No time will pass. When you look into it, it all makes sense. Emma and I locked eyes once again, yet this time it was less confusion and more terror. I spoke up. Come on, man, stop messing with us. He didn't reply. He didn't blink. Days passed. I think Anna and I sat and talked a lot. We didn't grow hungry, tired, or thirsty. We didn't have to use the bathroom. We came to a few realizations. One, that there was no temperature in the room. It was an absence of any heat or coolness. Air was non-existent. After roughly 12 hours or so, we estimate, our bodies began to not breathe automatically. We didn't need oxygen. The other realization was about that void. Ryan had been staring off onto it for the entirety of our stay, save for the couple first minutes. He hasn't moved. He hasn't blinked. Sometimes he mumbles something about time or the universe, but most of it's gibberish. Em and I decided that maybe something is in there. We can't see it, but Ryan can, and it's driving him insane. We decided it's best not to look at it for too long. After weeks of being stuck in the room, Emma and I were growing increasingly restless. We started arguing about little things and eventually stopped talking altogether. Sometimes I could hear her sob, trying to be quiet. I spent a lot of time crying as well. No tears would come out though. Emma and I ignoring each other was halted one day after Ryan simply stated, loud and clear, I'm going out. It was the first time Emma and I had even looked at each other in a couple days. It was the first time Ryan had spoke coherent words in weeks. He didn't look at us when he said it. And for some reason, neither of us protested. Maybe out of boredom, depression, or curiosity. We didn't stop him. He walked over to the glass door and stood for a moment, never taking his eyes off the emptiness. He spoke to us, still facing the nothingness. I'm going to learn its secrets. Power. I will become a god, and it welcomes me. He opened the door. He reached his hand out into the void. It looked like an optical illusion. Exactly where the door frame was, as soon as he broke through the plane, his hand disappeared. All I could see was his wrist with nothing attached. He brought back his arm inside the room. His hand was missing. There was exposed bone, flesh, and tissue. But he didn't bleed. He didn't scream. He smiled. He then walked out into the void, looking like a ghost walking through the wall. Emma and I stared in horror. She ran over to me and we cried for a while. She said 7 words to me, through thick sobs that chilled me to the bone. The first real sensation I've had since coming here. Are we going to be here forever? Emma and I spent a lot of our time crying. What else was there to do? Imagine it. You're stuck in a room with nothing to do but stack chairs or topple over empty bookcases in frustration. We tried to have sex, but it was just another thing to do to pass the time. With no blood pumping through our veins, it made things difficult. We played all the name games, invisible tic-tac-toe, tongue twisters, etc. We can't exactly play I Spy because our options for color are either white or void-esque. Sometimes we try and sleep to no avail. We just lie there, occasionally together, sometimes apart, eyes closed with no rhythmic rise and fall in our chests, no soft sound of a heartbeat, just utter silence. I didn't think I'd ever make it out. I'm not sure the total time I spent in here. It was hard to tell and grew more difficult as time went on. At first it was easy. You could tell a couple seconds had passed, then minutes grew to hours, but especially after Ryan left, it was difficult. There was no rising sun, there was no moonlit sky with a glittering of stars. There was no feeling tired, no sleepiness, or droopy feeling that settled in after a long day. I felt as if my internal clock was reworking itself to be, well, broken. Emma and I were starting to lose it, but not in the same way Ryan did. To curve our sad days, we'd play pretend like we were kids. I'm not sure if it was an actual decision on our part, or if our minds were making us do this in return for a flake of sanity. Sometimes one of us would be a waiter and the other would be eating at a fancy restaurant. Sometimes we played doctor and one person would have to undress and be examined. In some scenarios, she'd be my wife. I'd come home from a long day at work and she'd have dinner prepared for me. She'd call the kids down and we'd pretend to eat, and I would tell her about all about my day while sneaking table scraps to our dog. Our favorite scenario was strangers. At least it's what I call it now. Looking back, we didn't have a name for it then. I'd be sitting at a table pretending I was in a bar or club. She'd walk up and grab a seat, and I'd give her a couple glances inside before telling the bartender to buy her a drink. She would try to contain her glowing smile and would bat eyelashes at me. Then she'd make her way from across the table, across the bar, and take the chair next to mine. I'd ask her name, and then we'd slowly go from surface level conversation into the world of getting to know each other deeper. Childhood memories, fears, aspirations, secrets, dreams. Then, eventually one of us would break character and we'd laugh. We would also write plays in our head for each other and perform them. Or we'd make scripts for TV shows or movies and act them out, mostly improv. Those were the good memories. The secure ones. Those escaping us were equal to the escapes of regular people in the real world, who are watching TV or scrolling through an app so they don't have to face the reality that engulfed them. But at some point, reality always sets in. Our entire world was in that room. I started to forget what my mother's face looked like. I started to forget what my face looked like. One day, or a night, or whatever, I looked off into the void. Emma and I treated it like someone would treat a naked homeless man screaming at them. It's best not to look at it for too long, but it's okay to glance or catch it in your peripherals. I stared off into it, wondering about its color, its absence. I wondered where we were, physically. Were we in another dimension? Were we being observed now? As I stared off, I saw something. I know I did. It was impossible to miss, like a brushstrokes on the blank canvas. Yes, it was there. It was something that existed in the vast expanse of nothing. A tree. It was a tree, perfectly symmetrical pine tree. Almost like those abstract ink blot tests used for psychiatric evaluation. It was just like that, sitting dead center in my vision. It wasn't like spotting a tree from inside a window in the real world, no! I wasn't there with the tree, I was merely observing it. I felt like an alien from another planet, witnessing it. The tree didn't know I was there, and I didn't know where it was. Suddenly, a strong and swift open palm made contact with my cheek, and I heard Emma yell, "Snap the fuck out of it, Clark, please!" My face stung, but the pain was dulled as I noticed her crying. "Whoa, hey, what's wrong? You... Oh God, you're really back. You're really back, thank God," she says through quivering lips. You were just staring out there for fucking days. I couldn't do anything to snap you out of it." Days? Yes! God, I would cover your eyes or shake you, but nothing was working, so... She kept talking, but her voice sounded like it was falling down a well, as my own thoughts took over my attention. Days? I looked outside for 10 seconds, 20 tops. There was no way days had gone by. I told her this. "What?" She said, "Are you fucking around? You stood there, right there, still as a statue for so fucking long. I was screaming, I was shaking you, I was pleading with you." I swear I'm telling the truth. I grabbed her hand consolingly. All I remember is seeing something out there. Then I don't know what happened. "What did you see?" Her crying had subsided a little, and her sadness was replaced with curiosity. "I think it was a tree." "A tree?" "Yeah, well, kind of. It had a motion to it, like it was growing. Not from the ground like a normal tree, but it was spreading, I guess. Like when you take the netting off a Christmas tree and all the branches fall and the tree looks fuller? It was just like that, but constantly expanding like an optical illusion." She looked at me as if I just told her I had cancer. An expression of sympathy tangled his worry. She let out a heavy breath. "I was so worried you were going to leave like you did." I hugged her and scratched the top of her head in an attempt to comfort her. Then she grabbed my neck and kissed me lightly. It wasn't the first time we kissed. We had plenty of times before. I don't know how it started. I can't even remember our first one. It was too long ago. But every so often we just look at each other and kiss. Was it a relationship or boredom? I knew everything about her. It seemed, but I don't know. I was stuck there with her. What else were we going to do? Would we have gotten along on the outside? In the real world? If this experiment worked, would we be together? I don't know. A lot of time passed since Emma slapped me to snap out of it. We were more quiet than usual, more thoughtful because of the events that had occurred. She brought it up first, interrupting our previous conversation. "So, hey, let's say we make it out of here. Whether that be in a million years, or a billion, or whatever." "Uh-huh. Well, you know how you were looking out the window and days passed in a couple of seconds? What if that's the best thing to do? To pass those years. Maybe if we look at it, it'll feel like a couple hours and then boom, we're back in reality." I had wondered about it too. What if we never snap out of it though? What if we walk out like Ryan did? Or what if we're just stuck in here forever? Hypnotized. I know, she said. "I thought about that, sure, but what? But, I don't know. What's our other option, realistically? Really? We can't keep living like this. We can't keep spending every day going through the waves of talking and silence and laughter and crying. I'm losing my fucking mind, and I know you are too." I tightened my lips together, and my silence answered her, so she continued. "What's worse, spending 1 trillion years in this room until you pull your hair out and slowly slip down the insanity slide, or looking at that fucking abyss of nothing? And yeah, there's a chance we'll go off the rocker like Ryan and hypnotically walk out that door. But is it worth it? I think so." We had spent too much time in there. I don't know how long, but it felt like multiple lifetimes. If this ended in death, I welcomed it. I knew we had to. It was our only option. "Okay. We'll barricade the door," I proposed. "We'll put the table, the bookshelves, and everything else in front of it. It's at least one line of defense against us leaving." "Yeah, it's no guarantee, but I like the idea." And we did just that. The idea that we could be in there for a couple hours was the only motivation we needed. After the furniture moved, we sat on the floor in the middle of the room, our legs were crossed, and we faced each other. "I am, fucking terrified," he said openly. "I know. I am too. What if we never see each other again? What if we never see anyone again? What if this is it? Like, it? I grabbed her hand and I pulled her a little closer before replying. No matter what happens, I'm grateful that I had you here with me. I couldn't have been here alone. This place is hell, but it would have been so much worse without you. She gave me a nod and she smiled. I returned the same gesture. We both adjusted our bodies, still in sitting position, to face the window. I looked to my right and admired Emma's gaze out the window. Just as I did when we were transported here, I squeezed her hand. Ready to spend an eternity together? She said with a shaky breath, almost laughing. You know it. And with that, we peered off into the nothingness. It's hard to describe what I saw. The first thing I saw in the vacuum of the void was once again the tree. It moved. And breathed and acted like it had before. After a while, I noticed I couldn't see the walls of the room anymore. It was as if I was enveloped in its darkness, like I was a lone astronaut without any planets or stars for guidance. I couldn't feel my butt against the floor anymore, nor Emma's hand gripping mine. In fact, I couldn't really feel anything. It was like I was slowly losing each of my senses. The horrifying nothing color slowly dissipated, and the tree did as well. The best way I can describe what came next is by comparing it to something you have all seen already. If you close your eyes, you still see some light. You see shapes and objects and other things your brain tells you to see. If you stare at a wall, a blank wall, there's almost a movement to it. A stag-like sensation on the wall that you never really notice until you focus. That's what came next. As nothing disappeared, I could see the shapes in the darkness. Random patterns, stars, static filled my vision. I felt like I was falling. The randomness of the shape took form into my most nostalgic memories, things I didn't even know I remember from the trenches of my mind. I felt like this itch almost. I swear in those movements I didn't have a body. I didn't have eyes, yet I could see. I felt like someone moved my still active brain into a jar to keep me alive, and that's what I was experiencing. Just my brain, doing its things with no outputs or inputs. I felt a prickling, but I wasn't sure where I felt it. I existed, but not in a physical sense. I thought I was dead. I hoped that it was not what being dead was like. And then, faster than a light twitch, with no sound effect, no transition of any kind, pop! I was back, standing in that room. Sunshine made its way through the overcast sky and immediately flooded the window. I wasn't facing the window though. I was facing Emma, with Ryan right behind her. Both of them were looking out the window just as we were before everything went dark. My focus was on Emma's pupil. Just as it was before, it didn't change in size. Before I could begin to process what was happening, Ryan screamed louder than anything I saw physically possible. I jumped and started to back away, but Emma didn't even flinch. Ryan grabbed the lamp from the table, smashed it to the ground, picked up a large piece of glass, and pushed it through his chest and into his heart. His hands were bleeding, and his chest was discharging blood by the pint. He died within a minute. He was smiling the whole time. Emma, still unmoved, kept staring out the window. I was just trying to process my thoughts, which were abundant. Ryan stabbing himself was the least of my concerns, to be honest with you. I backed up against the wall opposite of Ryan and slumped until I hit the floor. I sat in a fetal position and was praying the doctor would come down the mountain. The experiment worked. Kind of. The room did disappear, and we reappeared exactly 3 hours into the future. Dr. Olson said he installed the window in case he could see lights or flashes. He didn't know about the void. After Ryan's death, the university shut down Project BTAOW33 pretty quickly, but I doubt that was the last we would see of it. Dr. Olson can only hear the events that took place from my perspective. Emma was in a catatonic state. She hasn't spoken a word or made a noise since returning. She's completely unresponsive. There is no sign of her getting better. I visited her once at the home she lives in now, and I'm never going back. She stares off at the walls, the same way Ryan stared off into the void. If there is a God out there, I just pray she isn't still there somehow, in that place. I hope her mind is free, or at peace. Why am I not catatonic? Why did I make it out okay? Did I see the same thing Ryan saw? I'm not sure. I try not to think about it. I've lived, subjectively, longer than anyone will ever have to experience, to suffer. I don't have the guts to kill myself, so I think about it often. I don't really care if I get in trouble with the law by sharing my story. It's therapeutic to share. And like Dr. Olsen said from the beginning, no one will believe me anyway. Day-to-day doesn't bother me any. Day-to-day life doesn't bother me. I don't mind interacting with people. I like eating food again or taking a nice hot shower. I like knowing that I can die. That I will die. It's not the waking moments that disturb me. No. It's when I sleep. My dreams are awful and are almost always out of that place. That room. The doctor says it's because that room is where my brain thinks it has spent most of its life. He says they will lessen as my stimuli from the real world increases. But dreaming isn't the worst part about sleeping. It's every other moment between dreams. As I slip away into oblivion, so does my body, and so do my senses. My mind is still active, but I'm encompassed by that void, drowning in its emptiness. That color. That nothing. Every night it haunts me. I hope to God you never see it. Never realize it's there. Because when you do, it won't go away. Oh! Oh my God! Jesus Christ! That was intense. Yeah, it was. Oh. Lesson of the story, like every other time travel story, don't fuck with time travel. It'll only fuck you up, if not fuck up everything else. Holy shit. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. I've read, listened to that story a lot just because I like it so much, but that tingly feeling when I read it does not go away. Probably why I like it so much. Oh shit. But we do have one more story. We're not out of the woods just yet. One last treat for you all. I promise. And this one was given to me by my friend Yule. And I think it's an excellent way to end today. Does anyone know a good plumber? I did one of those stupid rituals and now my shower is leaking. And there's a faceless guy in my kitchen. My landlord comes tomorrow and he's going to kill me. Especially because I also have a cat and I'm not even supposed to have pets. It all started when I was drunk messaging a girl on Tinder, and she said that the only way we would meet up was if I did that weird ritual thing where I summoned a ghost or some shit. I think she called it mea culpa or something. Actually, her exact message was, "Decaying flesh will not rest. I am the Alpha and Omega. I've seen the burning seas consume the earth." Link to ritual instructions. Our souls meet when darkness spells mea culpa. Mea culpa, mea culpa. She was a weird chick. At least I think she was a girl. I couldn't really see her face. Her picture was just a black background with two shiny dots that kind of looked like eyeballs. You could sort of see some features, but it looked like her face was gray and I couldn't really see her mouth. But she had really good skin. I wasn't about to rally for a pizza face. So anyway, I weighed the pros and cons of spooky rituals versus trampoline booty as best as I could on 5 shots of Patron. It was totally worth it. I set my cell phone to 3:26 a.m, but since my phone is 2005 Motorola Razr that was dropped to the toilet several times, it went off at 4 a.m. Fuck! I decided to go through the ritual anyway. I was also supposed to have a friend during this thing, but my bestie recently got incarcerated for selling heroin on the corner of Patterson Park and Eastern Avenue. Shout out to my main man, Roscoe! Anyway, I set up and turned off the alarm, but the moment I turned it off, I drunkenly passed out again. I woke up 20 minutes later and actually got out of bed this time, stumbling around the room in the dark because apparently you're not supposed to turn on the lights, because if you do, a ghost will pop out. Ooh. I was supposed to find a candle light, but my hangover just made me trip over one of the several candles I placed on the floor. Eventually I gave up and flipped the lights on, grabbing a candle from my desk. I squinted out my window to see what my ghetto Baltimore neighborhood looked like at 4:20 a.m. The street was empty except for some rando wearing a black robe and a giant pointy black hat. He was staring at me through the window. I couldn't really see his face. You know Baltimore's gone to the fucking dogs. God's sake. I lit the candle and looked at my phone. I was supposed to knock on my bedroom door 66 times. The 66th knock on the timed on 4:06, but since I had fucked everything else up, I just did a shave and a haircut knock, and then walked into my hallway. My bedroom door is opposite the stairs, and looking down the dark stairwell was pretty spooky. I saw something move on to one of the lower steps. For the next step, I was supposed to close my eyes and walk forward while chanting "Me culpa, me culpa, me culpa," which is Italian for "my culpa," which is probably some sort of shitty Italian car. I tried to close my eyes and walk forward while talking about Italian cars, but my cat, Fish Sticks, ran under my feet and ended up tripping over him and falling down the flight of stairs. At some point, the stupid candle went out as I flailed down the stairs, but I was too concussed to care. I rolled up the ground and groaning and decided that I would just continue to go through the motions, which meant hiding in the closet and waiting for a ghost to play and hide sneak with me. I chose the kitchen pantry because I had some open potato chips in there, so I made my way back. As I stumbled, I heard several soft whispers behind me. I spun around, hoping there was right about Fish Sticks knowing how to talk, but no one was there. Except for the figure standing in the corner. I stopped, blinked, and it was gone. I really need to lay off the patron. As I honed in on the closet, the alcohol and concussion finally caught up with me, and I stumbled to a stop, doubling over and vomiting watery patron all over my kitchen floor. Fuck! My ass was landlord grass. The hellish combination of alcohol, concussion, post-vomit, and the looming eviction notice caused my emotions to go haywire, and I unleashed a violent sob, mucus and tears rivering down my face. I heard a noise outside the kitchen. My eyes fell on the kitchen window, and I spied that stupid dude in my backyard, still staring at me. Must have looked like an idiot, weeping in front of my kitchen pantry. Too ashamed to confront him, I just crawled into the pantry and shut the door. It was so cold in there, I damn froze my man-titties off. My air conditioner was probably broken. Definitely need to call the landlord, but that would mean sedating Fish Sticks and stuffing him in a suitcase under my bed. At this point, I realized I need to reevaluate my life. Maybe I shouldn't drink as much. Maybe I should give Fish Sticks a good home. Maybe I should find women with intellect and poise. Maybe I should move out of my shit neighborhood. After going through the entire existential crisis in my pantry, I decided to say, fuck it! And then the stupid ritual. That Tinder girl wasn't even that hot anyway. And besides, I still had like 70 more ritual things to complete, which included lighting 8 more candles, stabbing a Japanese doll, and spinning around in a circle while screaming, "You're it! You're it!" This was all supposed to culminate in me going to my basement, sitting in front of a mirror, and looking into the mirror, but not actually looking at it, which made absolutely no fucking sense. As I got up to open the pantry door, I heard a low moan coming from behind the door. I froze. I prayed to God it wasn't my landlord. I cracked open the door to see the guy standing in front of the kitchen staring at me. I finally got a good look at him. He definitely didn't have a face. I guess getting your face taken away is part of a ritual now. He didn't react to my presence, he just stared. I didn't know how the hell to deal with gamers, so I just stared back. We did this for just about 5 minutes before I slowly inched out of the kitchen and back upstairs. He turned to watch me as I went, but didn't move. So after I went back to my bathroom and took a shower, and now my shower head is leaking, which I blame on the stupid ritual. So if you guys know any good plumbers in the Baltimore area, I would really appreciate it. What the fuck was that story? What the fuck was... Yule, what the hell? Yule... Wait... What a way. What a last story. Jesus H. Christ. I guess that's a way to not completely end it on something, ultra depressing. Oh my god. Ugh, that's my chocolate. That's my stuffed toy hitting my chocolate. Whew. That was good though. I needed a good laugh after all that horror. But, you know, 'tis the season, I suppose. But, oh, but that's all the stories we have here today. So, I'll see you guys later. And remember, Happy Halloween!